Welcome to the Dana Duckworth Show, brought to you by Alabama One. I am Kennedy Chase, here with head coach Dana Duckworth. And coach, how are you feeling about your team's performance on the road in LSU this past week?
It was an interesting competition. We went in there with the idea of 24 for 24, and it was funny to watch how we had a mistake, but we bounced back, and we had a mistake, and we bounced back. And until we got to balance beam, did we hit all 6 routines on all events. And we've really been working on the resilience and really the ability to bounce back after a mistake in practice. So I feel these ladies went out there and continued to never quit. They continued to be warriors, and the mental toughness we've really talked about is exactly that. When a mistake happens, bouncing right back, and that's exactly what we accomplished while we were in Baton Rouge.
I know that's a theme that you've been talking about on the show a lot, is resiliency and just being able to be aggressive and bouncing back. But let's get right into bars. I know that whenever you're on the road that you start on bars, and we're going to start with Lily Hudson, and she scored a 9.85.
And Lily was our third competitor up here. She hit her handstands really well. I love seeing her really attack these routines. I feel like this is an event where she's continuing to get more confident. She's swinging stronger. She does an amazing dismount. You see here a full pirouette, and then she goes into a double tuck, and that was an undeniable landing. Loved how she really nailed that and was aggressive, and that's going to help us as she moves into the this week.
Undeniable is definitely the word to describe this dismount. I mean, oh my goodness.
Well, and as we move in the next 2 home meets and 2 away meets, and then truly into postseason, these details of being aggressive and hitting the landings are the difference maker.
And then we have Cam Machado, who scored a 9.875 on bars.
And I would say that compared to what Cameron has been doing week after week, this routine was not her absolute best. At the same time, she actually was coming after a fall. Shania had fallen before her, and I loved seeing her trust her preparation. Loved her being patient and hitting her handstands, but the one area she had was a small little hop on that landing, and really her consistency in the gym is that she probably sticks more landings than any one of our athletes, so I know she was frustrated with that, but I was excited to see her come after a mistake and truly stay aggressive with every turn and being in the moment.
Yes, aggressiveness is definitely important in this sport, right? And then we have Luisa Blanco, who scored a 9.9 on bars.
Yes, and Luisa came in just like usual, swung really pretty, really handled the pressure nice. She does a beautiful half pirouette on top of the bar, and her only deduction was this last handstand. She's a little short, and that's what the judges took her on, but right here she gets a beautiful full in above the bar, and again, undeniable landing, and I really think that overall the bar team handled that lead off really well, because the idea at the first, when bars is your first event of an away meet, you want to set the tone for the rest of the meet. And I think we did a nice job. I feel we are better than this, and we can actually set the tone even better. And again, that's what happens is you take every lesson from every meet and you go into the next one and you try to do it a little better and a notch above what you did the week before.
So talking about bars a little bit, setting that tone for that meet, do you think that the team has a preference for rather starting on vault or bars?
I don't know if they have a preference. Olympic order is fantastic, and it's always what you get at the home venue. But when you get into championship season, it's all based on rankings. So you have to mentally be prepared to start anywhere. And I don't want to wedge them into thinking one is better than the other, but I definitely feel like no matter where you start, you want to start with a bang, you do want to set that tone, and if you have a calm confidence and a belief in yourself, it should be doable on any event you start.
Well, we're going to take an even deeper look at some other events, so don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be discussing vault and floor.
The Dana Duckworth Show is brought to you by Alabama One.
Welcome back to the Dana Duckworth Show, brought to you by Alabama One. I'm Kennedy Chase, here with head coach Dana Duckworth. And coach, let's get right into it. We're discussing vault now. And I know you've been talking about progress. You've been wanting to see your team progress throughout the season. Are you seeing that progress?
Absolutely. I am so pleased with where we are on vault. We have been kind of working really diligently on getting the 10-0 start value. Shallon Olson has led us off now in the last 4 meets and has scored a 9.9 in all those meets. And she has a double full. It's a beautiful 10-0 start value vault. She's really figured out how to get more amplitude and height. And the benefit when you're at an away meet is her first vault is following the opponent's top vault. And so that has really set a tone. Can't wait to see Lexi Graver's vault right here. This is the best vault of her career. I mean, you see her face.
Oh my goodness. And she scored a 9975.
Well, she should have had a 10.
Oh my
I mean, it
gosh.
was absolutely beautiful. Relative to how everything else was being scored in this meet, she should have had a 10. And if you could have heard her scream after, it was absolutely so authentic. Now, the neat thing about Lily Hudson being in the anchor position, she scored and did her first full and a half in competition. That was the first time in her career she's ever done a 10-0 start value vault at this level.
That's amazing.
We had a strategy. We were going into vault. We put her last. If we had a problem in any of the first 5 vaults, we were going to compete a full. And it was more probably the only sign of defense you can have in gymnastics. But we did have a fall. Maddie Walagora didn't do what she needed to do. And I looked at Lily and I saw it in her eyes. And I said, Lily, I trust you. You want this? And she's like, yeah. And so we stuck with a different strategy, and I let her just go for the 1.5 because she had warmed up so well. And that's a great thing about trusting your training and trusting your preparation. Now that she's got that under her belt, we'll probably shift her in the lineup. But I was really pleased that I believe this is the 4th week in a row we have competed all 10-0 start values on vault, which is huge for us.
That's awesome. And I love that relationship that you have with your team. I mean, it's just one of a kind. It's honestly motivational and inspiring. And I feel like that's why this team is so close-knit and why they're always supporting one another, is because you're leading by example.
Well, thank you. And I think communication is absolutely key, Kennedy. You know, if you want to help your athletes be the best version of themselves, you have to have influence. The only way you have influence is you have to have connection. The only way to have connection is you have to have conversations. You have to see where they're at, meet them where they're at, and also push them and have them realize how much belief we have in them as coaching and coaches, and be able to use that to help them feel confident.
Moving along with confidence, let's talk about floor a little bit. I mean, you have to have a lot of confidence to compete in this rotation, right?
You do, and floor is all about owning the stage,
Right.
owning the performance. Now, Maddie Walagora had a little bit of a step on that and a little cross legs. That was her deduction there, and she got her biggest deduction from her last pass. The way she executed her dance and put on a show, I think we were all a little tight. She was coming after another mistake that we had. Emily Gassens had fallen, and so Maddie had to come in and do her job. Right here, she does the 1.5 front lay, but watch this big step forward. That's where I would have taken a big deduction. So she did a decent job, but I absolutely know that she's capable of scoring and performing at a higher level, and so I love seeing Lily Hudson come in behind her. Now she right here, you see her slip in that little bit of
yep.
front pass. So that was when her error was, but then the rest of her routine was exquisite. The leap pass was done just beautifully. And remember, here you have a freshman, here in the first time being in LSU's environment, which is really loud and rambunctious, and she does a gorgeous last pass. Look at this, boom. Chest is tall, lands with confidence, and again, the routines that followed the mistakes continued to build,
Yes.
and that's what we needed to see happen.
And she scored a 9.9 on floor, which is awesome.
She did. Her only mistake really was that first pass. And right here, Lexi Graver comes in. Look at this full in. Great height, controlled landing. Probably one of her best full ins of the season. Beautiful leaps. She put on a gorgeous performance. And what you don't know is one judge gave a 10 and one
Wow.
judge gave a 9.85. And quite frankly, the judges have to take what they see. I do think this was one of her best routines, and a lot of fans that put comments, on social media and such definitely felt like Lexi got 2 10s on this night.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to control what you can control. And what we did was we controlled coming after a mistake and making improvements and having a great finish to our performance. That is going to help this team be the best they could be. So control what you can control and continue to try to be that word, undeniable. And that's where we're going to use this to make us better. We're not going to blame, complain, and put the focus on anything else except using it for us to do the details in the gym and translate it into competition.
Well, don't go anywhere when we come back. Goodness, when we come back, we'll be discussing beam.
The Dana Duckworth Show is brought to you by Alabama One.
Welcome back to the Dana Duckworth Show, brought to you by Alabama One. I'm Kennedy Chase here with head coach Dana Duckworth. And coach, let's talk about beam for a little bit. You guys were on the road, and I know that energy in the environment and the atmosphere can maybe, affect the team a little bit. How was that energy in the room?
Our team responded like absolute champions, and I was so proud. We dropped a 9.9, and so that performance goes to show that they had belief in themselves, that they handled, that there was pressure. We knew we were behind going into the last event, and they just attacked the beam, and that's what we want to do. We have a great beam team, and I want to see them continue to believe and trust in themselves.
Well, let's get right into it, starting with Maddie Walagora, who scored a 9.925 on beam.
So Maddie, in the original plan, was not in the beam lineup. She had warmed up so well, and I just saw this face of confidence. I felt like she really wanted it. She went in here and did just a strong beam routine. After every skill, she had a smile on her face. Even when she was a little off, she covered it up. She does a really challenging beam routine and really just stayed focused on the details. And then of course this dismount is just so strong and so beautiful, and really just proud of how she handled that.
That takes a lot of trust in your team too, because you said she wasn't originally in that lineup, but then
Nope.
you just saw something in her that night.
That's right. So we warm up 7, and then I choose the top 6 based on how warm-ups go, based on how competition has gone, and practice in the week of practice prior.
And then we have Lily Hudson, who scored a 9.925 on beam as well.
Yes, and she does a beautiful series right here. She has a 3-trick, a front aerial into a back handspring layout. It's really challenging, and I just like the way she moves from skill to skill. Her dance has continued to get better and better, especially in that role that she's a freshman and she's getting into the performance aspect. She did a great side aerial, and then I think her biggest deduction was this little hop on the landing, but better dismount, nice height. Yep. And again, they handled it so beautifully. One routine after another built, and that's what we try to do. We want the lineups to basically start strong and then build one routine at a time.
And then that build up to Luisa Blanca, who scored a 9.975 on beam.
Oh, Luisa was just stunning in this last position. She anchors this event for us. She just is just elegant. She's fierce, she's graceful. I just love every attention to detail, the way she uses her fingers, the way she sets up. She does one of the most difficult tumble passes on the beam. She right here does a back handspring, layout. You'll see her do 2 aerial moves right there. Just did a nice smooth job there. She shows off her flexibility. You know, Kennedy, a lot of people feel that she absolutely should have had a 10 on this routine. One judge did give a 10, one judge took a 9.95. Watch how her feet land. See how they're a little staggered right there? That's really the only place I can see that maybe they would have taken a deduction.
Okay.
I just think that everything else was done really flawlessly. And this, again, will build her confidence in knowing that she can anchor this, and a judge did give her a 10, so.
That's awesome. And I noticed as the season progresses, it's those little details that we're starting to notice, because I've been here since the beginning of the season, and I myself have seen a big difference in your team. But now we're just looking at those little details. How important are those details?
The work ethic and the attention to detail in practice is what is translating into competition. It is absolutely crucial. When you look at gymnastics, you win and lose by 0.025. That's literally like this. I mean, it's so minor, and it is a subjective sport, so you're at the mercy of the judges as well. And so you just want to do your best gymnastics, go out there and give 100% every day, and let the results take care of themselves.
Well, speaking of results, don't go anywhere. We're going to go into Dana's tip of the week, which is high start values.
The Dana Duckworth Show is brought to you by Alabama One.
Welcome back to the Dana Duckworth Show, brought to you by Alabama One. I'm Kennedy Chase here with head coach Dana Duckworth, and today's tip of the week is high start values. Now, Coach, I know you've said that a 10.0 start value is sacred.
Yes.
How important is that high start value?
In college gymnastics, you want every routine to start from a 10.0. A few years ago, they made a change to the vault table. So it used to be that a full twisting Yurchenko was a 10.0 start value. Now it's a 9.95. So you see here that Lexi Graber does a 1.5. That's a 10.0 start value. So if you're going against a team, remember we compete 6 athletes, 5 scores count. Right. So if you have 6 10.0 start values, right? You count 5, and another team only has all 9.95s. You are actually at a 0.25 benefit, even starting before the event begins.
Oh my goodness, okay.
Yes. So it's very important. Now what happens is we craft routines in vault is a single skill. On bars, beam, and floor, you're crafting a routine to start at a 10-0, and it's your 10-0 to lose. So like last week, we're showing vaults right now, but Luisa Blanco missed her last pass on floor. It was supposed to be a layout. Because that combination was a tuck, she only had a 9-9 start value. So that routine, if it was done perfectly, could only get a 9-9.
Oh, okay.
So if you think about it, if you can get a 10, then you have put yourself at a higher potential as a team than another team that only has 995 start values, because their ultimate potential is not a 200.
Wow, so you pretty much, you tailor your routines to those point values pretty much. Is that what you're saying?
That's the goal.
Okay.
So when you do a vault and it starts from a 10-0 start value and you go against teams that don't, your potential, think about it, a 40 is the perfect score, is going to be 1 up to 0.25 better potential than another team that doesn't have it. So it kind of gives you a strategic advantage if you can. There is more risk involved, however, because you can do a full, you can have a safe landing, or you can do a 1.5 and have a blind landing. So it's really relative on how confident every athlete is in being able to do that. And then, of course, when an athlete makes a mistake, how you basically have to work through the start value is based on how the routine is constructed, which may be a little confusing. But why is the 10-0 sacred? In the elite gymnastics world, they've changed their scoring system so you can get 14s and 15s, and that's why it can be very confusing. I like the 10-0 start value. Your goal is to get a 10-0 and put the best gymnastics out there with the opportunity for the best outcome.
Wow, the more I learn, this is really a strategic sport, and that's really awesome, honestly, and really cool.
Well, when you train, your development is to start from the 10-0 and let it ride.
Well, let it ride. Well, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll be having a little fun in our next segment, This or That.
The Dana Duckworth Show is brought to you by Alabama One.
Welcome back to the Dana Duckworth Show, brought to you by Alabama One. I'm Kennedy Chase here with head coach Dana Duckworth. And coach, we're going to play a game called This or That. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. This or that. All right, beach or mountains?
Beach.
Ooh, I agree. Beach for sure. Book or TV?
Ooh, I love a book. I love a book. Yeah, book.
I wish I liked books more. I like my TV shows.
I love reading.
All right, at a movie.
Oh, popcorn. It's actually my go-to snack.
Love popcorn. Love popcorn.
A little secret, if I go to the movies, I might even have popcorn for dinner.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love popcorn too.
Salmon.
Oh, yep, salmon.
Yep,
Definitely
I'm all
a
about
salmon lover.
salmon.
Love fish. Okay, next. Iced coffee or hot?
I don't
Ooh.
understand cold coffee.
Really?
I love hot coffee. That is my go-to.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, even on a hot day?
Oh yeah,
Oh
it can
my
be
gosh.
scorching. I love it. Yep.
Morning or night?
Morning, I'm such a morning person.
That's so great.
My battery runs out and I'll be watching a movie with my husband and I'll be like, hey, how was your day? Morning, hands down.
Morning, definitely. Music or podcasts?
Music.
Yes, me too.
Actually, both. I love a podcast.
I
I'd
like
have to say both.
podcasts for long drives, for like a long
Yeah,
car
while
ride.
I'm working out.
Oh yeah. Okay, phone call or text?
Phone call. I like a conversation. So much better.
Oh yeah, phone call for sure. Pool or lake?
Pool. I don't like the ocean or the lake. I'm a pool person. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
me too. Actually, I'm the same way. Twitter or Instagram?
Oh, Instagram. Absolutely, hands down.
Yeah, Instagram.
No question. I don't like Twitter.
Weights or cardio?
Weights. Go heavy or go home.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go heavy or go home?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, that's why your gymnasts are all so fit and have these awesome muscles,
We
right?
do
All
a
those
combination of
weights.
both,
Yeah.
but there's no doubt that I think that especially as you age, weights are so important for osteoporosis. I could go into my whole health kick on why weights are important. It's the quickest and best way to really get the physique that you want, and we cannot be afraid as women. I hear all the time, oh, if I do weights, I'm going to get bulky. No, that comes from nutrition. It's really hard to keep on and put on muscle as a woman, and I highly recommend that people do weights. I want to do weights up until I'm like 80. I
my
think it's
goodness.
huge. Oh yeah, it's very important.
I need to talk to you after this about nutrition and working out, maybe.
Yep, I love that kind of stuff.
So let's get back to talking about gymnastics a little
Okay.
bit. You're back at home this week. What are you looking forward to being back in Coleman?
One, the home environment. So excited to get home. It is a 5 p.m. meet, so it's because of television. So please, if you can get off work early, we highly encourage you to come. If you're a season ticket holder and you know you're not going to be able to make it, you can turn your tickets in and let somebody experience gymnastics that hasn't been able to see a meet before. And I think the biggest piece for our ladies is consistency is our key and our friend moving forward. We need to use what we learned last week and go into this week and start very strong on vault. We need to carry our momentum from bars, beam, and floor, and we need to, really focus on how we can put all 4 events together as a team. Because collectively, if we do that, this team has unbelievable amounts of potential and opportunity. And so I'm not going to put expectations on them, but I'm absolutely going to tell them how much I believe we are a 198 plus team, and it's time to put it all together and do it.
I love that. Definitely believe in this team as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. Roll Tide, everyone.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,